Fuck patriarchy and its elitism, for emptiness is easy. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything is crap, including meditation teachers. Those who have a yang worldview are going to see things through a lens that makes them rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. Consequently, they're going to view things literally the majority of the time, which will really confuse their students. When one has a yin worldview, one is prone to be more flexible, loving, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. One becomes much more comfortable with metaphor and simile and hyperbole and the like, or hyperbole and the like. This we see in all the Buddhist teachings. You know, there are those who try to frighten their students, try to manipulate their students, try to overwhelm their students. And there are those who just want to make the journey for their students just as quick and as easy as possible. And no more do we see that a lot when it comes to teaching emptiness. For like most people, I studied emptiness literally, and I looked at emptiness through the lens of the Madhyamika philosophy, popularized by the South Indian Buddhist philosopher Nagarjuna. But it wasn't until I stepped away from that, from pseudo-intellectualism, and just viewed emptiness as a yogi, that things began to make more sense to me. And I feel like the easiest and most succinct explanation of emptiness is as follows. Let's chant this together. Puckered palms in front of your sternum. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. So right here we're saying emptiness and voidness, which can be synonyms for each other, or they can modify each other for using poetic license, or simply a simile for their experience of the non-graspable. Every time we breathe in, due to the inner workings of our sympathetic nervous system, we're already wired to perceive, and to do so vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Every time we exhale, due to our parasympathetic nervous system, we are already wired to physically relax and mentally release, as if that which we previously noticed was as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Now, a really intelligent question would be, okay, you've just compared non-graspability to a vast empty void, excuse me. But that is also kind of vague. I need a specific comparison, and so I'll provide you with one. A vast empty void, and let's chant together. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a beautiful cloudless moon, which although compelling to the eye is not graspable to the hand. So for instance, think back to the first week of summer vacation when you were a kid. And after having Cheerios for breakfast with your siblings, you went outside in your bathing suits and romped and played with the hose. You might have noticed how beautiful the sky was and how devoid of clouds it was, and that particular electric blue is especially alluring, and we might lie on our backs on the grass and reach up towards the infinite azure sky and try to grasp it tightly with our fingers, But when we pull our hands back to our face and open our hands, we never saw blue. So literally, the sky was appearing, yet literally non-graspable. And that makes perfect sense to anybody who's studied even a little bit of science. That makes perfect sense. But it's a wonderful simile for our experience of everything else. Because as we go through life, things are tantalizing. And they're supposed to be. Don't beat yourself up for that. But we evolved to be highly debaucherous and highly sensual. And there are things that speak to our eyes or our ears or our skin or our mouth or our nose. These things are tantalizing, and yet as vivid as they are when we breathe in, as we relax into our exhalation, they feel less graspable. Now, no, there is no great truth that we need to believe. There is no great understanding that we need to elucidate. This is just a natural mechanism that is as close as our next breath. Playing with this just helps us to let go. Why do we want to let go? Because we evolved certain instincts to keep us alive. And they do a very good job of that, but they don't help us to thrive. And so we want those instincts to be there, but not to control us 24/7. And so we meditate so that we can allow the inner workings of our autonomic nervous system to help us to possess survival instincts without being controlled by them. Or if we're controlled, if we have no survival instincts, we won't survive. If we are a slave to our survival instincts, we won't have a fulfilling life. So to find that balance between having instincts but not being controlled by instincts, we meditate. Now, this explanation is summarized in Sanskrit. Subhavashuddha sarva dharma subhavashuddho, which literally translates as, all phenomena, including myself, are purified of conventional existence. Everything becomes as non-graspable as emptiness. So this is a very concise teaching that, sadly, some superstitious teachers and some elitist teachers have made needlessly complicated, which is tragic, because they were introduced to Buddhist teachings to make things less complicated. Fortunately, after I received, way back in the 90s, I was taught the yoga of inconceivability, which really spells this out. And I'd like to share it with you right now. So we're going to begin by exploring the circumstantial dance of impermanence and interdependence. This is highly figurative. So we're going to start chanting together. What could it look like if all circumstances are lost blissfully and impermanently melted into rainbow light, that interdependently absorbed into this body or form? So we're going to take all these words and shrink them down to just 6 syllables. As we breathe in, into form. As we breathe out, how lots melt. Now, we're not saying that this is literal. We're saying that this is a figurative way to understand letting go. Let's play with this right now. And now let's explore this a bit further. The physical dance, the same thing. The physical dance of impermanence and interdependence. Let's chant. What could it feel like if all forms or bodies blissfully and impermanently melted into rainbow light that interdependently absorbed into this communication or speech? And please remember, these questions are rhetorical. We're now going to bring the interpersonal into the path of impermanence and interdependence. Together. What could it sound like if all interpersonal speech blissfully and impermanently melted into rainbow light that interdependently absorbed into this mind? Now let us bring the mental into the path of impermanence and interdependence. Together. Oops, look at this. What could it be like if all minds blissfully and impermanently melted into rainbow light that interdependently absorbed into our vast empty void? And so once again, we're playing with these metaphors and to avoid how minds melt. And so we're going to play with this idea of letting go by blending it with mantra recitation. And the screen might go nuts. Let me adjust the screen real quick. As we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite the rhetorical question, how relax, into the awareness of this. Now this is only 4 letters, but it's a huge word. It encompasses everything you can perceive. It encompasses sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. But it also encompasses emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. This encompasses everything: the external, the internal, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and the grotesque. So as we breathe in, let's silently and mentally recite this rhetorical question. As we exhale, let's physically relax as best we can into the recitation of this 10-syllable mantra of Grantara. Om tare du dare du re so om dare 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 du dare du re so I look forward to more chanting and more meditating with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, every day I spent more than 8 hours studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of Buddhism. so that you wouldn't have to. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. So, this morning's lesson was pretty much an excerpt from Sri Jana Dipankara, known as Atisha, in his concise sadhana or practice text for the archetype Green Tata, who symbolizes enlightened action. I have spent many years adapting and amplifying this text to make it easier for you to practice and understand. So of all the exercises we're going to play with, they fit into 4 categories. And the first category is going to be energy work. And so what we're going to do is put our hands in the puckered palm position overhead. And this is going to help our energy gather up. The following recitation is meant to be figurative. Let's chant. Lama Drojang, please come to this crown and lavish me with the attainments both conventional and ultimate. Lama Drojang, please come to this crown and lavish me with the attainments both conventional and ultimate. Lama Drojang, please come to this crown and lavish me with all the attainments both conventional and ultimate. As children, our first bicycle most likely came with training wheels, and although they were clunky, they got the job done. Similarly, our first meditation this morning is likewise ungainly, but practical. During each inhalation, we could silently and mentally recite perceiving this very turbulent play of mind, and as we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. This is not an affirmation, and this is not dealing with objects of belief. It's dealing with what's going on in the present moment and helping us to learn that what's going on is not shameful, it's not bad, it's not an indictment, it's useful. It is not fixed by the path, it is the path. What follows is not a prayer, but it is words that we use to exercise our intention, that we might grow in empathetic bodhicitta and enthusiastic refuge, which are arguably the second and 6 folds of the Buddha's 8-fold path. Oh, look at that. We're going to play with 2 recitations in this theme. The first is very literal, and we're setting it to a triplet chant. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. These 3 nouns are so powerful that they've earned the metaphoric nickname of the 3 wish-fulfilling jewels, kind of like Aladdin's lamp. So this is the second version of the same recitation I told you of. This recitation is more concise and more figurative, and we're setting it to the bookend chant, which is our go-to chant. May I liberate all beings by relying on the 3 jewels. Together. May I liberate all beings by relying on the 3 jewels. May I liberate all beings by relying on the 3 jewels. This empathy is explored in terms of the 4 immeasurables, or the 4 abodes, known in Pali as the Brahmavira, which would be, in this context, compassion, love, sympathetic joy, and balance. So together, let's chant. May everyone be free from suffering. May everyone be happy. May no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging freed. So we already explored this bit during our opening lesson, so we're just going to jump right through this. And come and review this part right here. So again, let's silently and mentally recite the rhetorical question as we breathe in. Let's physically relax as best we can as we exhale. Now, the screen might go berserk for a second. I'll do my best to remedy that. Here we go. Om tare du dare du re so om dare du dare du re so om dare du dare du re so om dare du dare du re so ha. Om tare du dare du re so om dare du dare du re so om dare du dare du re so om dare du dare du re so ha. Om dare du dare du re so 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 ha. Om dare du dare du re so 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 ha. Now let's remove the first of 2 metaphoric training wheels and reduce our contemplative exercise from 12 syllables down to just 3. As we breathe, as we practice perceptive inhalation, we could silently and mentally recite, notice this. And as we practice exhalation, we could silently and mentally recite, relaxing. There will come times when we feel profound resistance to our circumstance or our bodies or our relationships or our mind. When that happens, these 3-syllable mindfulness labels can really help. They won't change our experience, but they will help us to stop fighting it and allowing us to flow with it. They could pertain to perception. They could pertain to emotion, intention, thoughts, memory, and imagination. Please bear this in mind. It's not our job to perfectionistically strive to find the ultimate label in the shortest amount of time. Life is messy. We're all born naked, screaming, and covered in goo. Meditation's messy. It's okay to have a shallow learning curve. What follows this contemplation is ideal for centering. Let's chant. From the emptiness appears a suitable palm, transforms into a lotus seed. This thing right here. On top of this appears a suitable lava, which transforms into a moonseed the size of a thumbnail. That would be this white cushion depicted here. On which this appears in the on which this mind appears in the form of the green letter T, the size of a mustard seed. We do not have to actively visualize. Simply by chanting, we can allow the subconscious mind to do the heavy lifting for us. We're now going to explore the iconography of the archetype of enlightened activity, which the reason we play with the archetype is just like you can after you do laundry, you can put your clean, dry clothes in the corner on the floor, but it'll wrinkle, or you can hang it on hangers in the closet. And that's what we're doing here. We use the archetype to organize the 8 metaphors that are integral to mantra meditation that we're going to practice in a few minutes. So let's chant. Now in the aspect of God green suitable tome la tracement that make offerings to all the Buddhas, thus empowering the possibility of benefiting all sentient beings. Whether this is real or imagined, it's kind of fun. May the rays then reabsorb into this mind and thus become like the archetype Tata of the rosewood forest. And so this is the archetype that we're going to explore now in greater detail. Her body is comprised of green light. She has 2 hands and 1 face. Her right hand resting on her right knee is in the giving mudra. Her left hand is at her heart with a ring finger and thumb pressed together holding the stem of the blue pala flower which blossoms at her left ear. She is peaceful and smiling and fully matured. She is adorned with all the precious garments and ornaments. Her left foot is tucked in and her right foot is slightly extended. So now we're going to get into what I like to call the Buddhist hand jive. Tata's back rests against a full moon throne on her forehead is the syllable. Now let us remove the second of 2 metaphoric training wheels and reduce our contemplative exercise from 3 syllables down to 1. During each perceptive inhalation, we could silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this, and during each relaxing exhalation, we could silently and mentally recite the monosyllabic verb ease, which functions as a synonym of relax. Converting these 10 labels from 3 syllables down to 1 requires some poetic license. So when we feel resistance to our experience of the physical, we could silently and mentally recite the noun form. And when we feel resistance to the emotional, we could play with the verb feel. When we feel resistance to the past, we could play with the preposition then. And when we feel resistance to fantasy, we could play with the verb dream. Together. On Taurus word is the syllable. Together as a team, let us meditate as transformatively as General Leia Organa upon Ajahn Class under the guidance of Luke Skywalker. And on Taurus is the syllable. Due to a medical appointment, I will have to conclude this session in about 25 or 26 minutes. Let's explore the egalitarianism of the body mandala. From the sternum who may not raise, emit, and invoke all the Buddhas of the 10 directions, each in the form of green Tara. Again with the Buddhist hand jive. Om Benza Sarma Om Benza Samayanza Hum Bam Ho. May all these yadams absorb into oneself. So just as our body is full of tissues and those tissues are full of cells, we can imagine our body being full of Buddha paradises, and each of those paradises being full of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Do we have to visualize this? No. But is this a sense that wherever we go, the teachings are present? Yes. And we're going to continue now with some energy work. Again from the seat suitable honest and made light raising it and invoke the 5 initiating jhana Buddhas. Now we recite Om Vajra Sama. I am having trouble here, please bear with me. Now we recite Om Vajrasamaya and make the request. Please, all Buddhas, bestow on me all empowerments. Then the Tathagata say Om Sarva Tathagata Abhishika Samaya Shriyahum. Having spoken thusly, they pour water from a vessel on top of our heads. The water goes throughout our bodies, purifying all bodily defilements. It fills up our bodies to the top of our heads. Then on the top of our heads appears a Nirmanakaya form of Amitabha. We're going to perform 6 offerings. We're not doing this literally, we're doing this figuratively to help us viscerally get the idea of awareness and release. So each of these offerings we're going to find verbiage that refers to perception and letting go. We're also going to do a bit of the hand jive, so let's do the first hand jive at our forehead. I offer the experience of wisdom that's appearing yet as non-graspable as a void. Om Shyamatara Adarshe Patitsum Swaha. And as mentioned, we talked about sights and the sights being non-graspable. This is going to be a reoccurring theme. Let's put our hands together at the level of our lap. I offer the experience of wisdom sense fragrant yet as non-graspable as a void. Shamatara Gandhi Patitsum Soha. Let's place our hands at our throat. I offer the experience of wisdom sounds resounding yet as non-graspable as a void. Shyamatara Mini Patitsum Soha. Let us place our hands at the level of our navel. I offer the experience of wisdom tastes flavorful yet as non-graspable as a void. Shamatara Rase Patitsum Soha. Let's place our hands before our sternum. Whoopsie. I offer the experience of wisdom, feeling sensual yet as ungraspable as a void. Shamatara let's try this again. Shamatara Parshe Padisum Soham. Let's place our hands before our solar plex, halfway between our navel and our sternum. I offer the experience of wisdom, thoughts lucid yet as non-graspable as a void. Shamatara dharme bodhisohum soha. Now let's rest in mindfulness and meditation. Now we prepare for the mantra meditations I promised you. So again with the centering exercise. At one spot on the moon seat there is a green settable tom, surrounded by the 10 settables from tare to soha. Let's review the meaning of the mantra. Om invokes Tare's courage to Tare's pacification and Turi's increase. Soha supplicates with these, may I liberate all. From these settles may rays of light emit and make offerings to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, thus empowering our ability to benefit all sentient beings. May all the powers, blessing, and love of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas manifest in the form of rays of light, which absorb into the mantra rosary, encircling the hot seed syllable. Now we recite the mantra 128 times or as much as possible. There's nothing mystical about 128. Simply 16 repetitions multiplied by 8 sets. And it's simply a convenience of anatomy and mathematics. Our 8 mantra meditations divide into 2 sets of 4. During the first set of 4 mantra meditations, we're going to practice love and letting go. Why four meditations? Because the Buddha was keen on organizing all phenomena, all things, beings, and phenomena in terms of 4 bases of mindfulness: the circumstantial, the physical, the interpersonal, and the mental. So we're going to begin by bringing love and letting go into the path, or I should say, we're going to bring by going to begin by bringing love, by bringing the mental into the path of love and letting go. We're going to start with a wish. This isn't a prayer. It's just a way of guiding our intention. We're going to then take this verbal wish and shrink it down into a silent wish. May all minds of all beings know be as peaceful and wise as the mind of a Buddha of laws and balas baya winsera siti kleo bija mantra. And now we're going to play with the actual mantra. During the inhalation, we silently and mentally recite the loving wish. During the exhalation, we're going to do 2 things. We're going to physically relax as best we can while chanting this 10-syllable mantra. Om tare tu tare tu re so 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 ha. Om tare tu tare tu re so 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 ha. Excuse me. Om tare tu tare tu re so 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 ha. Om tare tu tare tu re so 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 ha. Now let us bring our experience of the interpersonal into the path of love and letting go. May all relationships of all beings know be as joyful and loving as a real or imagined Buddha's communication symbolized by this 10-syllable mantra. Da de do da de do de so om da de do da de do de so om da de do da de do de so om da de do da de do de so da de do da de do de so om da de do da de do de so om da de do da de do de so om da de do da de do de so da de do da de do de so om da de do da de do de so om da de do da de do de so om da de do da de do de so da de do da de do de so om da de do da de do de so om da de do da de do de so om da de do da de do de so May the common and supreme attainments of magical powers and full enlightenment be lavished upon all sentient beings and myself. Through our recitation and meditation, may all sickness, poverty, and warfare be completely pacified, and may Dharma and good omens be all pervasive. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.